Elara lived in a village nestled between whispering pines and a river that sang over smooth stones. The villagers had a curious tradition. Whenever someone felt burdened by grief, worry, or a secret too heavy to hold alone, they would find a small, ordinary stone, hold it tight until it absorbed their sorrow, and then place it gently on the worn path leading to the old wishing well. Elara, even as a small child, possessed eyes that seemed to see the unspoken weight in others. She noticed the stooped shoulders of old man Hemlock after his wife passed, the tear hastily brushed away by the baker's wife, the anxious tremor in the young shepherd's hands before his first flock. Quietly, without a word, Elara began to pick up these stones. She'd cradle the cool, smooth pebble that held Widow Mallow's loneliness, the rough one imbued with the blacksmith's fear of failing, and tuck them into the deep pockets of her patchwork apron. Her small hands grew accustomed to their varied textures and the subtle, melancholic warmth they seemed to radiate. At first, she carried only 1 or 2 stones at a time, feeling a strange sense of purpose lighten her step as she walked the path. Imagining the burdens easing just a little for their owners, she felt the baker's wife smile more freely the day after she pocketed her tearstone, and saw old man Hemlock tending his roses again. This silent act became her secret mission. She'd rise before dawn, her breath misting in the cool air, and walk the path, collecting the stones deposited overnight. She didn't discard them at the well like others might. Instead, she carried them home, placing each one carefully in a secluded corner of her tiny garden shed. Nestled amongst forgotten flower pots, each stone represented a story, a silent plea she felt compelled to answer. The shed's corner grew into a small cairn, a monument to the village's hidden heartaches. As Elara grew taller, the pile of stones grew larger. Her pockets overflowed, so she used a sturdy canvas bag slung across her shoulder. The weight was constant now, a physical presence that pulled at her muscles and made her steps slower, more deliberate. She still walked the path daily, her kind eyes ever watchful, but a faint weariness began to etch itself around them. She saw the young mother struggling with twins, the farmer fretting over a blighted crop, the child ostracized for being different. Their stones joined the others, heavy and insistent. The joy of lightening another euro's load remained, yet it was increasingly mixed with the sheer, grinding effort of bearing so much accumulated sorrow. Her own laughter became a rarer sound, often interrupted by a sigh as she adjusted the ever-present bag digging into her shoulder. The villagers noticed the change in the girl, who had always seemed as light as a dandelion seed. Her shoulders were perpetually hunched, her gaze often distant, fixed on some internal horizon. Weighted by the stones, she moved through the marketplace like a shadow, her steps heavy, her usual bright greetings reduced to faint smiles that didn't quite reach her eyes. People whispered with concern, "Elara looks so tired." The baker murmured, "Has she always carried that bag?" asked the shepherd. Now grown, they saw the strain on her young face, the way she winced when shifting the burden. Yet they didn't understand its source. Elara herself never spoke of the stones, believing her silent carrying was simply what she must do. The weight was her secret, her self-imposed duty, a mountain she felt solely responsible for moving, one pebble at a time. One crisp autumn afternoon, under a sky painted fiery orange and gold, the accumulated weight finally became too much. Elara was carefully adding a new stone, smooth and cold, heavy with a fisherman's dread of winter storms, to her overflowing bag in the shed. As she turned the strap, frayed from constant strain, snapped. The bag plummeted, spilling dozens of stones across the packed earth floor with a sound like sudden, heavy rain. Simultaneously, the sheer exhaustion of years, the unrelenting pressure on her body and spirit, crashed over her like a wave. Her legs buckled. She sank to her knees amidst the scattered burdens, her breath catching in ragged sobs, tears finally breaking free and tracing clean paths through the dust on her cheeks. She felt utterly broken beneath the weight she had chosen to bear alone. Old man Hemlock, drawn by the unusual clatter, found her there. He stood in the doorway, his wise eyes taking in the scene. The weeping girl, the spilled bag, the multitude of stones glinting dully in the fading light. He didn't need an explanation. Understanding washed over his weathered face. He knelt beside her, his own joints protesting, and placed a gentle, age-spotted hand on her trembling shoulder. "Child," he said, his voice soft as the pine needles outside, "what have you done? These burdens, they were never meant for one pair of shoulders. The stones are left so the well can hold them. Not so one heart must carry them all." His words, filled with decades of weathered sorrows and quiet resilience, struck Elara with profound simplicity. The truth she had never allowed herself to see suddenly shone clear. She wasn't failing by feeling crushed. She was human. Word spread quietly through the village like the first warm breeze of spring thawing winter's grip. The baker, the shepherd, the young mother, the fisherman, they all came not with anger, but with quiet awe and dawning comprehension. They saw the cairn in the shed, the spilled stones, and the girl who had silently shouldered their collective pain without a word needing to be spoken. They understood one by one. They stepped forward. The baker picked up the stone, holding his wife's old sadness. The shepherd reclaimed the pebble of his youthful anxiety. The young mother gently lifted the twin stones of her exhaustion. The fisherman retrieved his cold dread. Others found stones they recognized, stones they had left years before. They cradled them, feeling their familiar weight, but also feeling the shared strength of the village gathering around Elara. Elara watched, tears still drying but her heart feeling lighter than it had in years. As the pile in the shed visibly shrank, the villagers didn't cast these stones aside again carelessly. Instead, they walked together down the twilight path to the ancient, wishing well, their steps a quiet procession of shared humanity. One by one, they tossed their reclaimed stones into the deep, dark water. Each stone made a soft plunk, a sound not of ending, but of release, of burden shared and returned to the earth. Elara stood amongst them, her own hands finally empty, the terrible ache in her shoulders beginning to ease. She looked around at the faces illuminated by the last amber light, faces etched with their own stories, but now softened by a profound sense of connection and care. A gentle warmth, long forgotten, bloomed within her chest that night. Elara slept deeply, her body finally free of the crushing weight, her spirit cradled by the silent symphony of support that now hummed through her beloved village. She dreamed not of stones, but of light, carried not on her back, but held gently in her open hands.